Morning. I see. Let me say, folks, I decided to put up a different picture of EmpressTee, and everybody commenting say, "Wow, where you get that picture there? How come she stays so pretty? I want to see her up on video yet. When are we gonna see her on video? By the way, people keep asking me that. When are we gonna see her on video?
I'm working on it.
You're working on it. You have to buy a
I'm not
camera.
the visual type. I'm more the listening type. I can talk to you. I'll try and sing, but
Yeah. So you're gonna buy. I presume you're working on the money to go buy a camera to make it work.
I guess
All right. Good. All right. We'll
we
see
have
when
to
it
do
happens.
more than a camera.
Yeah. Okay, so we play that video called Burning, and that's what you're gonna cover this morning. And yeah, you take it away and let us.
Yes, I don't know if anyone really saw the video. I didn't get to see it.
No, no. Well,
I
well.
could hear it very well, but I didn't get to see it.
Uh,
And what it shows was the actual damage that the sun's UV rays can cause to your skin. And so what I wanted to talk about today was exactly that, how sunburn can affect people of color a little differently than it does, fairer skinned people. Naturally, we know that the UVs can burn their skin because they don't have the melanin to protect it as much as we do. But we still can get the same type of effects and the same cancerous effects from not protecting our skin as well. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is that there are three types of UVs. And what UVs are ultraviolet rays from the sun. What that is just like an intense light source of heat that comes direct from the sun. Most of it is filtered by the ozone layer, but the most dangerous ones, UVA and UVB, do pass through the ozone layer. So as I said, there are three types of ultraviolet rays. There are UVA, which causes skin aging and wrinkling, and that can contribute to skin cancer, and that passes through the ozone layer the easiest. Tanning beds, they use UVA rays, and it produces, great color, but it's very dangerous over periods of time. Then you have UVBs, which are the rays and the intensity that causes sunburns and also damages the cataracts. They call it the eyes and causes cataracts. They also can affect the immune system because at that level, once your skin gets burned, it starts to affect the DNA. It becomes a cellular issue. It's not just on the surface anymore. And there's where you have the potential for melanoma, which is the most dangerous of skin cancers that you can get with, from repeated severe sunburns. And actually, it doesn't even have to be severe sunburns. It just has to be enough to penetrate your skin and cause cellular damage to start that cancer from growing. And then the last of the UVs are UVC, which are, the most dangerous, but those don't come through at all. Those are blocked completely by the ozone layer. So that's why it's really important that we keep our ozone layer up. While it filters most of the UVs, the most dangerous of them is the one that is filtering the most. So, are you with me, Bruce?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay. Any questions?
No. We're listening.
Okay.
We have some interesting photographs that you sent showing some extreme and severe burns by these dark-skinned folks, and
Yes.
you include a photograph of Bob Marley and I think his mom in there. I'm gonna ask you later why you included those photos. Was it, I don't know why, but just want to make
I'll
those
explain
observations.
as I go along.
Yeah.
So with the UVs, that is the main reason why we have to be careful of the sun. Melanoma, I just want to talk a little bit about melanoma. The reason why we need to really be mindful of the sun and how much and how often we allow our skin to get burned. that is the most common. I mean, it's not very common, but that is the most serious of the skin cancers. There's about, I think, 3 major skin cancers. There's melanoma, and then there's the basal cell carcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma. The melanoma skin cancer is the most dangerous because it's hard to repair the damage once it's been done, because, as I said, it's on a cellular and it goes through the DNA and it spreads quickly. So, once you get that cancer, it's hard to prevent it from spreading. It works in the melanocytes, which are the cells that produce the melanin. The melanin is the browning, that color that we all have, in different shades. Even, I don't want to say white people because they're not white, but fairer skinned people have melanin too, just not as much. It's very, very light. And so it doesn't provide the natural sun protection. And the funny thing about the melanin is that although it provides some protection, it can also, when damaged, cause the cancer, the skin cancer in our cells the same way. So it's one of those things that's very tricky. It also absorbs the vitamin D and is what helps our bodies synthesize. But on dark-skinned people, the melanin also acts as like a shield. It prevents us from absorbing the vitamin D. So that we have almost a conflict, whereas we need to be in the sun more because we need to get more vitamin D, but we have to also protect our skin because even though it is dark, we still can get the same effects of the cell damage. Are you with me with that?
Huh?
I said, are you with me with that?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Mm-hmm. So with darker skinned people, what usually tends to happen is that we burn and we don't realize that we're burned because, we believe the myth that, we're dark, we can't burn. And so underneath our skin layers is where the damage is starting to occur. And in the video, what they showed was that damaged DNA cells are lower than the surface of the skin. And so what happens is when your skin is burned and they said it gets red and blistery and peeling, it's shedding off the damaged cells. But when you get a sunburn, some of those cells are so deep that the shedding of it doesn't really get rid of the damaged cells. And then the damaged cells remain there, and then they start to infect and damage other cells, and there's where you start to have the problem. And so the more times that you burn, the more potential there are for damaged cells on a DNA level, on a cellular structure, on a cellular level. And so for darker people, we tend to burn more often, but we ignore it. We don't pay it any mind because we don't know that it's under the surface that the damage is happening. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're hearing you.
Okay. So although we think that, we're less likely to get sunburn, as I said, we can and we do. Mm-hmm. And what's happening more and more is that as the studies are changing and people are becoming more aware, we're starting to see that, people of color are actually experiencing more burning than other people in comparison to what we may think. If you see on the chart, you just have the chart there.
This one, American Indian, Alaskan.
Right, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
We're not that far behind other skin tones in terms of the frequency of burning. The difference is that, the difference is that someone of lighter skin, they're going to go get it checked out because they expect it more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's more talked about. It's more prevalent. Whereas we're not going to because, we say, we're black people. We're made for the sun and all that stuff. And yes, it's true, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason why I had put Bob Marley in there was because he did die from a skin cancer, however, not the same type of skin cancer.
Okay.
His skin cancer did not come from the UV damage. His is a type of cancer that they're actually still exploring and learning about. It's called acral melanoma, and it was different in that it started with the nail. Did you see the pictures of the nail? It started with the cells in his nail.
Yeah, what? Yeah, okay, those photographs there. Where
Yeah, that's
there's a fingernail. His was his way. Is a toenail?
in the toenail. Yes.
Wow, wow.
And so what happened was because it went ignored, it basically started spreading, and it spread to his lungs and to his brain. And by the time he went to get help, it was a little too late. And he also refused certain types of treatment. Now, he did agree to, I think they said to chemotherapy, but he didn't go for some of the more aggressive types that probably could have cured it.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just to let you know that we have to, again, be mindful of what is going on in our bodies. Look at your bodies. If you see anything like this, that's not normal. You know that that's not normal. Anytime you see something that is not normal, have it checked out. That type of cancer shows up on spots that have no hair, meaning on the bottom of your feet, on the soles of your hands, your nails, things like that don't have hair.
All right. Take me back a little here. I'm showing, because I remember when we giving this presentation, we have to kind of see if we can somehow give some overview or some description as to what we're showing on screen. People who are in the chat room and so forth, they'll be able to see the different images. Now with this one, right, it is showing toenails. Show two toenails with a black strike or streak or small rectangle on the toe. Describe again what happens there.
That is an indication of cancer.
So below that toenail, something starts to develop, and it penetrates up through the toenail.
Right, and there's where you see the indication. Now, underneath, there's no telling how far it went. Now, just because it's there doesn't mean that it hasn't mutated somewhere else. So that you could look below that toenail and might not see anything. But what happens is the cancerous, the damaged DNA cells travel throughout the body.
Right. Let me ask you this, though. In this particular case, based on what we're looking at, right? The question then is, if someone's feet are in shoes or in a shoe, where it being worn constantly, how you get sunburn from that? Yeah, maybe really.
No, that's not a type of sunburn cancer, and that was my point. That's a type of skin cancer, yes, but that's not one that is derived from the sun.
Okay, got you. Okay, all right. That's right.
So, but I included it in there because it is a skin cancer, and just to show people that there are still different types of skin cancers.
Gotcha.
Not all come from that. Now, I see that Live Rock had said about watch your kids if they're putting on their own sunscreen and things like that. The reason why we target kids so much with the sunscreen and protection from the sun is because they say that if you have burned more, like I think it's 2 or more times before your age of 18, you're more likely to develop melanoma. And so these are things that are like little indicators. And so they want us to protect our skin. Now, there's the flip side that our lifestyle changes nowadays don't really have people in the sun that much, adults, so that it's more of a concern for children because they spend a lot more time outside, in school and camps and free playing, things like that. But with adults, we have a slightly different problem and perspective with the sun. The lifestyles of adults now keep us indoors more than anything. So people of color, you couple that with the fact that our own natural melanin prevents us from absorbing the vitamin D, which we need because vitamin D helps us prevent cancer cells, helps with diabetes, it helps keep our bones strong, it helps prevent osteoporosis and things like that. So that we're almost in a position, like I said, where we have to have the sun, and it's a little harder for us. And so those who work all day during those key hours, the sun is usually hottest between 9 and 4, I believe, or 10 and 4 p.m. And those are work hours. So most people aren't even outside, aren't even exposed to the sun to really have to be concerned about it. But it's those people that when they go out on the weekend and try to make up for it that have to be protected the most, because they tend to go out there and overdo it and not realize that they are overdoing it. And that's what will bring me to the conversation of sun protection. Is there such a thing as SPF sun protection and the numbers? You see on sunscreen, you see anywhere numbers from 10 ranging up to 100.
No. And again, here, depending on the region you are, like I would presume over in Africa where there might not be that much, air pollution, protection from the sun and all that stuff. If one was, my question is, if one was to do study depending on the region, say up in Europe, here in the States, over in Asia, in Africa, I presume some of these readings would be a little different.
Yes, it does have a variant on it as well. Your altitude, where you are on the globe has a lot to do with it, how close you are to water, how close you are to sand, all those things have an effect. It seems that the middle countries, the middle portion of the globe tends to have a different protection and layering from the ozone, from the UV rays. And it seems that those up top and those on the bottom. So that's why they've also come up with the international
standards
UV index scale. And what the UV index scale is a level of the intensity of the sun, and it'll range anywhere from 1 to 11 plus, where 1 is the lowest and 11 being the highest, so that all around the globe we all use this index. And you can go on, when you go and check the weather. As a matter of fact, before I came on my show, I look at the weather every morning just to see, not that it really tells me because sometimes it changes, but today's UV index for Virginia was a 9. Which is relatively high. Remember, the index goes from 1 to 11 plus, where 11 plus is the highest, and meaning the highest risk of overexposure to the sun. So what that means is on a 9-day, you wouldn't want to be outside in the bare sun, say at the beach, without any type of refuge, without an umbrella, without something long, without a wide brim hat or something to give you some relief from the sun. On that type of day, on a 9-day, you're definitely going to burn if you don't take precautions. So, but again, like you said, depending on where you are, so for each zip code, you would get a different UV index number. So just like you said, people in Africa would have it different than people, say, in the States. But that's not to say that people in Africa can't get sunburn, and a lot of them do.
Right.
The picture with the 4, the picture that you have there with the 4, as a matter of fact, was from Africa, from Nigeria.
With the 4?
It had 4 images of
this one. That gentleman there. Oh, that looks awful. Folks, we're looking at a quadrant photograph, 4 of them, A, B, C, D.
Yeah, right there with the hand, the face, the back of the neck. That's all sun damage. That's all sunburns. That's varying degrees of sunburn. And yeah, it's healed, but underneath there, is where the real damage is brewing.
Yeah, it still baffles my mind because you're saying this is sun damage. We have somebody calling a new video message. The sun damage, and yet on his foot, and I can't. I still don't understand that one. Well, he could be out there working
With
out in the fields.
sandals,
He
a
could be
lot of
working in
people
the
walk barefoot. You
yeah,
know
and he
that.
could
This
be
is
out
in
there working in.
Africa. These pictures came from Africa. So, you know, these are people that probably wear sandals and, you know, or out in the sun, exposed to the sun. You know, and it's not so common, but it's also not that uncommon, the occurrence of sunburn. But again, like I said, depending on lifestyles, most people are indoors all day. When you think about it, the average person spends most of their time indoors. They're in the car. They're protected from the sun. So that this is more for like those times when you're not in the sun, when you're picnicking or you're going out or you are going to be out in the sun. You want to prevent this type and level. And this happens over time. That sun damage, that's not one day that happens. That happens over time. That accumulates over time.
All right. SW writes in the chat room. Somebody's calling in constantly here. SW writes in the chat room. She just never really paid UV index any attention, and that's not only for her. Because myself, I've never paid any attention to it. So the question then is, for most people, you know, some of the people listening to this program, just in general, what will get them to start to do that? A public service announcement from the government or something like that?
Well, they do. They talk about it all the time.
Okay.
You know, they have commercials. They advertise sunscreen. They actually do talk about it quite a bit. You know, and they talk about the ozone layer depletion and why it's important in global warming. And the reason why it's important is because the ozone layer protects us from the UV rays. And, you know, things are different now than they were before. And although as human beings we do adapt and we adjust to our environment, there's still that transitional period of where people are adapting and adjusting. And there's where you have the incidences of cancer, you know, the skin cancer. And it's on the rise. People say they take things to the extreme. Oh, we need vitamin D. So they go out there and they say the coloring looks good. So now they're getting in these tan beds. The tan beds are death traps. That is a death trap. You do not need the sun like that intensified that much. You can get it just walking outside on a regular day, 10 to 15 minutes, unprotected or even lightly protected, so that you don't need it like that. Your body will absorb it, you know. They're just doing too much.
Yeah, Lieberg says his uncle passed away from melanoma, and his mom is always yelling at him for tanning, and he says he loved to lay out in the sun with a cold beer and good reggae music. It sounds like Lieberg, a fun guy.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with it, and you know, not to scare anyone, but there are natural sunblock things. The sunscreens that they use. Now, here's the thing about sunscreen, because you see sunscreens ranging, like I said, anywhere from SPF 10 to SPF maybe 100, 110. And what that just basically tells you is the sun protection factor. And what they have discovered, I'm not sure if I sent you
I have
picture
something.
of it.
Yes, I have something on screen now where it shows the natural sunscreen ingredients, and it covers coconut oil, for example, has a SPF, a sun protection factor 4 to 6. A shea butter has also 4 to 6. Zinc oxide 2 to 20. Almond oil as a 5, carrot seed oil, SPF of 35 to 40, and raspberry seed oil, SPF of 25 to 50.
Right. And see, now the thing with the sun protection factor is this. What it basically means is that with the UV rays, 93% of the UV rays are blocked when you have a sun protection factor of 15. So when you see the sunscreen lotion and it says SPF 15, you know that that's going to block 93% of the UV rays.
Right, right.
Okay? And when you see SPF of 30, it only blocks 97%. So that the increase is not that much of a difference. You're actually better off with with an SPF of 15 than you are with one of 30. But, go with the higher one if you can. It's just going to give you a little longer protection in the sun, but it doesn't really block that much. And what it means when we say protection from the UV rays, that at 93%, we're saying that, let's say there's 100 photons, meaning 100 different rays of, the cells of the UVs that are trying to get into your skin, that at 93%, it will only allow 7 out of 100 photons through.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That I think I had a slide of it to show you.
Yes. Just give me 1 second, please. 1 second, please. 1 second, please. 1 second, please.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. 1 second. Okay, folks, we're going to take...
You are listening to RBN, Rule Grounds Network.
All right, folks, it's 11 o'clock here in Atlanta, Georgia. Ruler Brown live with the one and only EmpressTee with HigherFrequency, covering the sun hitting your skin and what it all means and how you can protect your skin. We're currently talking about natural sunscreen ingredients, and sunscreen are 15, minimum 15, protects you up to 93% of the sunlight coming in to damage your skin and give you cancer. Continue.
Right. And so sun protection at 30 gives you 97%. So at 97%, it only allows 3 out of 100 photons to pass through. So you are better off at a 30% than at a sun protection of 30 than at 15. But anything higher doesn't really give you anything more. It's more hype than anything. However, that being said, I still, when I take the little daycare kids out, I use the highest one just because I know it's going to give me a few extra minutes, and because their skin is a little more delicate. And we have to protect them from the damage, as I said, because they have a likelihood of experiencing more occurrences of sunburn before they're 18 than most adults will if they haven't already.
Mm-hmm. Let me say, SW adds in the chat room, she's so glad that you explained this because never understood it before. So, hey, that's good news. And Liebrock says he used SPF 60 on his son, Kale. And, the thing is, SW is right, because for me personally, I've never paid any attention to some of this. Sometimes when I'm going to Jamaica, people say, I should put on, Servant David just sent me a text saying, you're right, and he's agreeing with you. People are always saying, make sure you put on it. I have never put on anything for me. Just go and just walk up and down. And the average, and in Jamaica, the average man walking around in his neighborhood at Kingston and so forth, they have no clue about this thing.
Well, yeah, and then again, like I said, the sun is different depending on where you are. But that's why they've developed these scales so that you can rate the sun and know for your area, how intense the UV rays are.
Right. We want to say big up to all those listening out there on the various telephone systems. I see quite a few people are tuning in. And again, if you'd like to call in, ask us a specific question or make a comment, you can call 770-744-2154. 770-744-2154. Again, we know a lot of people. I'm just amazed at so much people actually listen on the telephone, 213-401-0061. 213-401-0061. I want to big up all those people in the hospitals. Yesterday, somebody sent me an email, said, Ruler, in the hospital when I'm on shift, there are about 10 to 12 of us that are tuning in when the show is on. So I want to big up those people in the hospital that are tuning in. All right, continue. Go ahead.
Yes, and I see that Ann Payne is saying that she's never got sunburn, and she probably never has. And, lots of times some of the natural things that we use, as you can see, provide us with a natural sunscreen, and also our own melanin does, but we don't want to take it for granted. just like I said, because the sun now, the intensity is a little different. So that if if you're naturally using coconut oil every day, you're already starting each day with at least a 4 to 6, level of protection. And if you add another ingredient on there, you increase the protection level so that, you can protect yourself naturally.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned coconut oil and putting oils on the skin. Is it fair to say that you put oil on those type of oils on the skin, it can clog your pores and you don't get to breathe properly? You have any?
No, not those oils. Those oils synergize and mix with our body very well. Those oils right there. There are some oils you do want to stay away from. You want to stay away from any citrus-based oils.
Citrus-based?
Yes, those are not going to be beneficial. Those, in fact, will cause, I think, a little bit of burning and irritation. So you don't want to use those types of oils if you're doing any natural sunscreens. And like eucalyptus oil doesn't really have a really high sun protection factor, so it's not going to really give you anything. With the citrus oils, it gives you a higher sensitivity to the sun. Another thing that causes sensitivity to the sun is medication. Certain antibiotics, if you're taking certain medications, it can cause you to have a hypersensitivity to the sun. You'll see it on the bottles of on the boxes and packagings of medicines. You'll see it says may cause sensitivity to sun. Take that seriously, because what it does is when you go outside, you'll react differently, and then someone who never gets burned could suddenly get a sunburn and might not have been out more than 10, 20 minutes, and not understanding why. It's a reaction with the medicine. So that, if you have children that are taking antibiotics, take extra precaution when you take them outside. When it says hypersensitivity or sensitivity to sun, take it seriously.
All right, let me ask you, going back to some of the photographs you sent, I'm looking at one here that this man has like blisters or little
moles.
Okay, moles, moles on his face. Talk about moles, because a lot of us have moles on our face, but we tend to think that that's what they usually say in Jamaica. If you take a black string, and tie around it, it will fall off.
And remove it. Yes, certain moles you can do that. But before I get to that, I just want to say, no, I'm not saying that coconut oil and shea butter are not strong enough. I'm saying they are good, but the more you mix together, the stronger the protection. So that you can see that you can use natural things. You don't always have to use the chemicals. A lot of times people don't want to use the chemicals because what happens is the chemicals are absorbed in your skin, and they do they do cause chemical reactions on the skin. They start little irritations sometimes, and people don't understand, why their skin is getting burned if they have sunscreen on. And there are some tests that are showing that some of the sunscreens are actually promoting the skin cancer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, for me, natural is always the way to go. If you have an opportunity to go natural, then get yourself a wide brim hat. When you go out in the sun, shade yourself. You don't have to protect your skin. You're not going to be out there that often and that much. We don't have that type of lifestyle. But if you are and you feel that you want to give yourself a little more protection, there's things that you can do. Now, as far as like the skin cancer and the moles, for Black people, it's a little different because our skins are all different shades and different ranges. And so for us, we might overlook something. And there's why I gave you the chart of all the different types of cancer cells and moles that we can develop, but that need to be looked at. Some are cancerous and some are not. So whereas we have those little black moles, And you said some people tie little things, those are called hair tags or something like that, and they can be removed quickly. Those are not cancerous, obviously. Our skin, just like we get keloids, for some reason, black skin, well, I know the reasons, but I don't want to get into the technical. Sometimes we overproduce skin cells, but they're not always cancerous. So that where you see there's two rows there, some are benign and some are malignant. When it's benign, it means it's not cancerous.
Right.
When it's malignant, it means that it's cancerous. And those usually grow and change and mutate so that you'll see it one month, it might look one way, and maybe a couple of weeks later, it's changing shape and form. You definitely want to go and get that checked out.
Mm-hmm. So once you start to see growth, once you start to see the appearance changing, that's when you should go check it out. But if it's
mutation, yes.
Yeah, if it's there and at a constant diameter or something for quite some time, it's benign.
Yeah, it's usually not going to be anything more than, a mole that we get. And moles are also something that are caused by deficiencies. I think it's potassium, if I'm not mistaken, and cause people of color to get moles. We can talk about that a little later.
Yeah.
But that was really the main topic. I just want us to not take our beautiful brown skin for granted, because the damage is not on the surface. Many times you're not going to see the damage right away, but you'll feel it. And, you don't want the damaged cells to travel in your body and go somewhere else. And so I don't know if you're able to show the video again so that people can get a better idea of how it exactly how it works. It was,
yeah, again, folks on the outside not going to really see, but I can try and see if I bring it back up. Servant David said, what about cooking oil?
Cooking oil, well, it's probably vegetable oil. I don't know. You mean in terms of using it as
protection,
sun protection?
As protection, I presume.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I know that the oils that they talked about there, I think the different heat levels and things like that, but I don't know. Would you put vegetable oil on your skin? I don't know. It might be a little too thick.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I was saying earlier about certain things going on your skin. It clogs your pores, and so forth. All right, I found the video. It's called Burn Now, Pay Later. Cancer research out of the UK, actually.
Every year, lots of us go out in the sun without protecting our skin properly, and we get burnt. And some of us, not just by the sun. But while sunburn may look and feel the same as the burns you get from a hot object, it's actually very different. A sunburn is a sign that the sun's UV rays have mutated the DNA in your skin cells. These mutations can take place hours before the first signs of sunburn show up. It's your body's attempts to repair these mutated cells that leads to the heat and the pain of sunburn. But when you touch a hot object, something different happens. Skin cells are damaged, causing redness and pain, but importantly, the DNA inside them hasn't mutated. Either way, your body tries to repair the damage. Some cells become good as new, others are destroyed and removed, causing blistering and peeling. With a sunburn, even though your skin may eventually look healed, some cells that contain mutated DNA can be left behind because your body's repair mechanisms aren't perfect. Over time, these cells multiply and their DNA can become more and more mutated. Years later, this buildup of mutated cells can develop into skin cancer. People can triple their risk of the most serious type of skin cancer by getting a painful sunburn just once every 2 years. So don't let sunburn catch you out. Whether you're at home or abroad, use shade, clothing and sunscreen to protect yourself from sunburn. Even if you've been sunburned in the past, it's still vital to protect your skin from further damage.
I wonder, like people down in Florida, for example, that they have constant high temperature and so forth. I wonder what their exposure is like as far as this is concerned.
They also have a high rate of skin cancer down there.
Ah, really?
Yes, there's a lot of people with skin cancer, and you can see them. On the one hand, the melanoma, the melanin is good because it does provide your body a natural skin protection. So, like, I guess I understand their thinking in a way, you know, and it does look nicer and it does look healthier, but it's just not healthy the way that they're going about it. They go about it aggressively, and it's not good. It's not good.
No, folks that go into these salons, parlors for sunburn, what is happening there?
That's direct UVAs. That's direct UVA rays. And, you know, like I said, it's great color, but that's going underneath. It's doing it slowly. So it's almost, I don't want to say a delusional, but they're thinking they're not getting burned because they do it slowly over time. And what's happening is that the damaged cells, like I said, are underneath. It's on a cellular structure, so they don't really know what's going on under there.
Yeah, I'm looking here on some research information.
It says they're doing it too quickly.
It says the UVA is the ultraviolet, like you said earlier, ultraviolet A, has a wavelength of 400 to 315 nanometers. And in electron volts, the energy per photon is 3.1 to 3.94 electron volts. And it says it's long wave, black light, not absorbed by the ozone layer.
You see?
Yeah.
So and it goes directly in.
Yes. That's just some technical data there.
And so, you know, while they think it looks good, it's not really good. And so what's happening is that the people younger and younger are using these tanning beds too. There's supposed to be an age limit because, like I said, depending on how many times you get burned by a certain age determines whether, you know, your chances for developing melanoma as you get older.
Let me read something here. I may have covered it somewhere or another, but I was just reading something in there. It says very hot objects emit ultraviolet radiation. It says the sun emits the ultraviolet radiation at all wavelengths, including extreme ultraviolet where it crosses the enter X-rays at 10 nanometers. Extremely hot stars emit proportionally more ultraviolet radiation than the sun. It went on to say, however, at ground level, sunlight is 44% visible light, 3% ultraviolet light. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the same thing as saying that those are the ultra VCs, the UVCs. Those are the hottest, the highest, the most intense, but they don't come down here.
Right.
Yeah, those don't really come down. The ones that are down here, and the reason why, you know, like they said, with the damage from heat and from a burn is because it's on the surface. It's not on a cellular. It's not on a DNA level. When it's the photons, it's almost like a laser, if you will. If you can imagine, you know, that when you're out in the sun, it's emitting like these, you know, trillions of laser beams onto your skin. You know, and some are going to penetrate and some are not.
You know something as you mentioned that I remember as a little kid back home. One of the experiment that we usually do. I don't know if it's an experiment, but an activity we usually do as a little kid. We get a magnifying glass. And people like Clifton Edwards and you take that and you see if you can get some rays coming from the sun and you hold it over a piece of paper. And you hold that for some time period and you see it just penetrate and burn the paper. Yep. And
that's how the sun is. Now, the difference is that we have the ozone layer to filter it.
Right.
Okay, and so we don't, it doesn't burn the surface, but underneath, that burn is there. You ever been out in the sun and sometimes it feels like it's pinching you?
Well, I play.
Well, see, I'm a sun worshiper.
well, I play cricket, for example. I play cricket, and we could be out in the sun from about midday to 7 o'clock at night. where if one team is on the field half of the timeline, but you have days when that sun, man, hit you so
Yeah,
hard.
but crickets, they wear white. They wear long sleeves. You know why? That protects from the sun. That gives them filter.
Well,
All those things.
yeah, go ahead.
All those things help to, contribute from the sun. And then time of day from 12 to about 3. You're only really out there 3 hours in intense sun if you really think about it. And then the rest is not. So it's really pretty good. It's timed pretty good. But also you're probably hydrating yourself a lot. I think the sweating also helps.
Well, that's why I brought up Oscar, because I remember one time I was playing up in Van Cortlandt Park in the Bronx.
Yeah.
And may I tell you that day that the sun must have been about 10 million degrees. Because, no, let me tell you what happened. I was out there playing, I was feeling, I mean, I tell you, boys, like white squall bite me same time because I'm hungry. And then all of a sudden, I just start to feel cold. I start to feel cold. It's like I was probably dehydrated and some weird stuff started happening and my head started getting light. So I had to come off of the field. Yeah, man.
But the thing is, you got to remember, our bodies hold a heat of 98.7. So if it got a little hotter than our bodies, you might have felt cool. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because it was warmer outside.
Yes. Yeah, the reverse flow, because he travels from a hot surface to a cold surface.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's good. I mean, and like I'm saying, we don't need to not be in the sun, but we don't need to take our beautiful brown skin for granted.
All right.
We probably need more sun than others, as I said, because of our melanin. It prevents our bodies from synthesizing the vitamin D and from absorbing the vitamin D from the sun the way that we really need to.
And you just took it. I was just going to say in a minute or two we have left. Was just to talk about the importance of vitamin D, how long you should be able to, people take supplements, vitamin D supplements to keep their vitamin D3 supplements to, keep their vitamin D levels. My understanding the range is supposed to be 33 and above. So how long, if one wants to get a little sunburn, vitamin D, they should be out there?
I think they recommended anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes a day. And like I said, you can get more than that. We can never overdose on natural vitamin D. Now, supplements, I'm not too sure about, because that's different. That's synthesized. That's something that's more made than natural. But from my understanding is that we can never overdose on natural vitamin D. We can, however, burn from the sun so that you can get your vitamin D in spurts. I consider myself a sun worshiper. I have to have the sun, or I physically, emotionally, I just don't feel well.
Yes, and they said vitamin D, deficiency in vitamin D in one's body. And they say you'll be amazed how much people are deficient in their vitamin D. If you go to the doctor and do your test, you'll be amazed that your levels are probably down to 10, 13, 14, when it should be at 33.
And that's because we remain indoors.
Exactly.
That's because our lifestyles keep us indoors. We leave our house, we get into a public transportation or car, we get into our work building, we come out, we do the reverse. When are we outside?
Mm-hmm. And I was just about to point out that with the lack of vitamin D, if you're vitamin D deficient, it creates a lot of other problem in terms of some of the ways that you feel, your prostate, your skin, everything.
Yes. Exactly. Diabetes. It also affects your cancer fighting abilities, believe it or not.
So the key thing, you want to have that vitamin D level as raised as much as the limits allow you.
Yes. And the more natural, the better. So that if you're eating it from natural food sources, whole food sources, that's better than taking it from a supplement. But if you absolutely can't get to the sun, or if you live someplace that doesn't have a lot of sun, or, if you're not someone that likes vitamin D foods, then, of course, take a supplement. But the best way is to get it from the sun itself. And here's something else that I wanted to point out, Rula, before I go, is that just because you don't see the sun don't think that it's not emitting the UV rays. So on a cloudy day, you can burn. You can still get a sunburn, believe it or not, because the rays are still emitted.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you, back to the vitamin D. On the other hand, one can be overexposed and actually it get toxic for one's body, right? Like you have too much of the vitamin D in the system.
I think if it's in a supplement form more so than from the sun, because what happens is when our bodies absorb the sun's vitamin D, it synthesizes and it knows what to do. It's not going to OD, so to speak, on the sun. But now with a supplement, it's a little bit different, as I said, because it's composed differently and it's received differently, and you could have problems. So that, you don't want to overdo it. Right. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to say, oh, my God, I'm never outside. Let me, double and triple up on my vitamin D. No, you don't want to do that. You want to take the recommended daily allowance. You want to check with your doctor. You don't want to do anything extreme.
Well said. All right, well, it's 25 minutes after, and again, folks, one more home run presentation of high frequency. You want to take 30 seconds, just summarize, wrap it?
Yep, just again, get as much vitamin D as you possibly can, especially if you're darker skin, because our melanin prevents us from absorbing the proper amounts of vitamin D. And also, if your lifestyle keeps you indoors, get it. But be mindful of how much sun exposure you are also getting while you're doing it. And that's it. And keep your skin protected. Either wear long sleeves, cool colors, wide brim hats. Try to avoid, if you can, being out in direct sun between the hours of 10 and 4. Other than that, love and enjoy the sun.
Yes, indeed. And it's a holiday weekend, right? Up in Virginia, they're going to be enjoying more
out
of the sun.
In the
sun. Having some fun in the sun.
In the sun.
Yes, indeed. All right, folks, that's the one.